Hey guys, I'm starting out a new financial channel with my co-host Michael Santonato. His channel is called BEFI or Become Financially Indestructible. And we're trying to get his new channel up to 1,000 subscribers, so if you guys could go down there, the link is down below in the description. Also, the content's going to be released on his channel about 2 to 3 weeks before it gets released on mine. Again, the link is below, and now on with the show.
Welcome, everyone, to the show. This is how to become financially indestructible. And we've got the one and only Sandman on the show with us today. And we're talking about something unique. I don't think this is something he usually talks about. So let's get into it. Sandman, what are your thoughts on the law of attraction?
I mean, I thought about this when you mentioned this to me, and I have a different name for it. Like the law of attraction is just something that's it's been promoted by booksellers and course like dealers and all this kind of stuff for years. And I didn't realize this, but I've actually been like not a victim to, but I've experienced the law of attraction. But I call it something different. I call it artificial synchronicity. And by that I mean like the universe gives you what you want if you think hard about it, but it almost feels like it just drops it in your lap. So it's not like these things are attracted to you. It's just you're on a specific frequency level, and if you vibrate what you want, those things that you vibrate will kind of be attracted to you. So give you an example. So back in the day, I wanted to work in television. And so
Mhm.
I put that out there, and within a few days, somebody that worked in television kind of got me a volunteer position to work in television, right? I wanted to go to Ryerson University, and when I wanted to apply for a specific program, and within a week, I actually met somebody that went to the exact same course that I did, who got in like a few years before me, and they showed
Mhm.
me exactly what I needed to get into the program. They said like they showed me their portfolio that got them in, and so I knew what I wanted to do. So then when I was working in television, I wanted to start up building websites, and I wanted to build websites and generate traffic and generate money off of the traffic. And I met a
Mhm.
guy who was like 16 at the time, and he was a .com building celebrity websites at the time. And he showed me exactly what I need to do step by step on how to start that business. So, like
Wow.
the way I see it, if you put your intention out there, the people that will help that intention happen just end up showing up randomly.
Mhm.
But you have to pay attention to them showing up. It's not
Yes.
like you have to be like, I'm looking for this, and then all of a sudden that person's going to show up, and then you have to like get on it as quick as you can. And it's not just like, oh, they're going to do all the work for me. No, they're going to show up and they're going to give you the pieces that you need to put the puzzle together, but you still have to put the puzzle together yourself. You have to take
Amen.
action. Anyway, that's my experience.
That's
What do you think?
Okay, it's radical. It's really cool that you say that. It's really interesting because you, I didn't think you believed in it. And you said things like, vibration and intention and thoughts and things will show up and you have to take the action. And I would say, after someone who studied this thing for more than, I don't know, 15 years, you're exactly right. I'm just surprised to hear you say that, you agree, you believe in it as well.
Well, it's not a belief. It's these are things that have actually like happened, and they're beyond coincidental, right? It's just it makes me think: Are we living in a simulation? Because what I think shows up, and it's like, well, that's kind of bizarre, right? Like,
Right,
and then
isn't it?
yeah, I mean, it doesn't just apply to like education and work and all these things that I was talking about. It also applies to things like relationships. It also applies to what you want to accomplish in life. Like,
Hmm.
for example, I wanted to make the manosphere mainstream. And
Hmm.
I think I accomplished that to some extent. Like, I actually, because I was doing my content for 10 years daily, it basically promoted it enough. The ideas were out there enough so that eventually other people picked those ideas up and ran with them too. And then it made it mainstream. And
Yeah.
so, and then when I wanted to get back into dating after a 10-year long relationship, the first thing I did was like, I didn't want to make another mistake. So I was looking for like dating advice. And then I ran into content creators like Karen Strawn and Stardust. and they gave me all of this information about female nature, and I was like, what the heck? Like, how did I discover them? Like, I don't even remember how I discovered them. I just,
Right.
searched for relationship dating advice, and then boom, I find these content creators, right? So
Mm.
there's a lot of randomness, but there's also, I think, like I said, artificial synchronicities to it.
So why? So you, I just want to wrap my head around this. And there's so many things that are happening in my brain right now because why do you call it artificial synchronicity?
Because it doesn't feel, it goes beyond just a random chance. It's too coincidental, right? Like, so for
Hmm.
example, if I want something, like I got out of that 10-year long relationship, and I was like, somebody asked me, like, what kind of woman are you looking for? I'm like, well, I'm looking for somebody more conservative, that's into finance, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 days later, boom, there's that woman. And I'm like,
Mm.
and she's interested. And it's like, and then I date her for a couple months, and I'm like, no, I don't want this person. Okay, I don't like this. Like, it's kind of like reality giving me exactly what I think I want, and then making me realize I don't want that. Right. So
So, okay, well, this is interesting because one of the teachers I pay attention to online that talks about this, she says that contrast gives you clarity, and you're always getting what you want. You're always getting what you're feeling, you're always getting what you're vibrating, but you experience things and then you get the choice to decide whether you do want this or whether you don't. And in your example, you said the universe showed you that you don't want that kind of person, but you did get what you did want at first,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Right. So it's kind of like, it gives you options, right? It gives
Mm,
you, like, it says, here, what do you think of this? It's like, do you want this or no? It's like, no. Okay, then it gives you something else, but you have to really pay attention, and you really have to put yourself out there. I mean, like, sometimes, the universe, like, I wanted to do this YouTube thing, and I wanted financial independence, but I wanted to continue to do the YouTube thing. And
mhm.
it's almost as if those two things are incompatible, because if I just continued to do YouTube and I was never demonetized back in 2018, 2019, then what would have ended up happening was, I would not be where I am now financially, because I never would have discovered cryptocurrency. So,
Mhm.
but I now I have the ability to be financially independent, continue to do YouTube, and the only way that was possible was with cryptocurrency on one side and continuing to do the YouTube on the other. And the only way for that to happen was for me to get demonetized, so I would be forced to learn about cryptocurrency and start using,
I
promoting,
see.
like, basic attention token, which I got lots of basic attention token, and then that forced me to learn how to use Bitcoin. It forced me to learn how that whole thing worked, because I had no other choice but to learn
Yeah.
how it worked.
You make it sound like another principle of this whole law of attraction thing is very, very real. And that principle is everything's always working out for you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Have you heard
negative
that
all
one?
the time, and you're pessimistic, your pessimism is going to be contagious and going to get into other people. And then once that pessimism spills into other people, it handicaps them. And I think there's a certain
Hmm.
level of people understanding this in the know. Like, for example, there are, the doom, gloom, and boomer guys out there who are constantly negative about the markets, about the economy, and they're telling people,
Who are these people?
well, they're everywhere, right? Like, they're saying the markets are going to crash. It's like, dude, we had a crash a year and a half ago. Like, what? Like,
Yeah,
a crash?
and it's an election year.
Yeah,
The
like,
fuck are you talking
but
about?
like, if you get, like, guys like Peter Schiff, Mark Faber, you get guys like, what's the name of that? Like, uh, I can't remember his name, but anyway, but seriously, like, there's all these negative, pessimistic
Yeah,
guys, and they're always fear mongering, and when they do that, that actually attracts, fear, and then people are afraid to put their money in the market. But the thing is, it's the fear is now not having your money on the market and losing money, but the fear is not being invested and losing out on the gains, because you're not keeping up with that
mm,
inflation rate. So they're
right,
hurting a lot of people by constantly being pessimistic. And I,
right.
I fell into that trap for like 10 to 15 years, until I finally realized, like, look, I have to start playing this game differently, or like I'm going to lose. And once I did
Wow.
that, I accepted the volatility. I accepted the risk. And the only way I accepted that volatility was when Bitcoin prices literally crashed 80% and I just held and didn't give a shit. And now I look at things like falling 20 or 30% and I'm like, doesn't faze me at all.
So what was the realization that you had to like succumb and face the facts and just get in and stay in to the market?
Well, it's the inflation rate, right? Like it's like I thought to myself, okay, if the people in power want you out of specific assets, what they're going to do is they're going to make those assets as uncomfortable to be in as possible. They're going to make it so that if you buy like tech stocks, we're going to crash those stocks like 60%, 70%. So you're going to feel so bad about that emotionally that you'll never want to put your money into it again. And so you'll always remember that lesson. So 5, 10, 15 years down the road, when those things are up like 10 times higher than where they are today, you're always going to think back to the bad negative feelings that you had about how you lost all that money. And you're not going to focus on the fact that you could have 10x'd your money if you had just held on into those things and not moved it.
Dude, you just rocked my world.
Why?
Hold on a fucking second. What you just said was absolute freaking gold. Like, I hope every person listening to this just pauses, hit the damn space bar, and go back like 2 minutes. Because you're speaking to so many people that are not in the market or that have not been in crypto or invested in certain stocks or whatever, and you're speaking to the market maker, right?
Familiar
If
with
you're
the market
familiar
makers,
with
yeah,
the
yeah.
the Wyckoff method, right?
The Wyckoff
composite man.
accumulation and distribution, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The composite man was the man that, you know, a brilliant guy 100 years ago hypothesized that there's a market maker, there's somebody manipulating the markets, and all his data 100 years ago proved that it was true. And you can still use this method right now today to determine that it is true. And so what the market maker wants is he wants you to feel horrible. He wants to screw you out of those assets and out of those gains and out of that profit. And he wants to take your orders. He wants to take liquidity from you because he's in it for the long haul.
Yep.
He doesn't care. He's got money. He's in it for 100 years. He's in it for 5 generations. He has a way different window and time horizon and perspective on the markets than you do. So you're right. The market maker and the manipulation of the institutions are designed to fuck with your emotions and screw you up and cause you to sell and panic and then regret it and then just not even bother. It's just better to stick to your 9 to 5.
Well, yeah, well, you won't have a 9 to 5 once the AI takes your job away.
That's true.
So like it's this game. See, this is well, let's not kind of stray too far away from the laws of attraction, but yeah. So like these guys are manipulating the market, and the more volatile the market is, the more fear and anxiety it generates.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you look at the markets that are the highest gaining, the things that gain the most are the most volatile assets, right? So, but
Right, like
but
Bitcoin,
yeah, but to basically be in those assets, you have to be comfortable with the volatility. To get comfortable with the volatility, like I went from investing in like GICs and dividend stocks, right, to all the way to Bitcoin. So I didn't invest in like the high growth stocks in the middle, the tech stocks and all that kind of stuff. And so once I experienced the volatility in Bitcoin, then I look at tech stocks and I'm just like, phew, like a 50% drawdown. This is like nothing. Like this is what is this, a drawdown for ants? Like, what is this? Like, what is right? Like, so
nothing.
yeah, exactly. And like, you have to look at this from the point of view of the market maker. They're looking at me and other people like us, and they're just like, they're not selling. Like, what the hell's wrong with these people? It worked before. We got drop it 90%. It's like, what? Okay, now they're just going to keep buying more at 90%. Now you've created a scenario where the peasants are accumulating when you drop it 90%, and then you're like, oh, we can't do that. Like, what do we do? Like, so like, okay, we rock it up and down. Oh, now they're taking advantage of the volatility both ways, and they're trading. Like, so you're looking at these elite market makers, and now they're realizing that the peasants are figuring out ways to outperform the market. And now they're going to have to change the game. So I think the game changed around when COVID began, when they brought inflation into the picture. because they're like,
Hmm.
we can't steal the money from the executive classes, the professional classes, the doctors, the lawyers. Those guys are sitting at home after their job and playing the game better. So we can't extract their wealth as readily as we used to. So what we're going to need
Right.
to do is we're going to need to take the wealth from those that are asleep at the wheel through inflation. And so
Mm.
now they're robbing more from the middle and lower classes because those are the classes that save most of their money in cash. And now,
Right.
so they had to shift this game, but that cash, that purchasing power, that cash is eventually going to erode as well. So the game has to keep, they have to keep eating they went from eating the medium sized fish to eating the small and slightly medium sized fish. So
Yeah.
they're eating the guppies now.
I get it. And that's why, I study a lot of Robert Kiyosaki 10 years ago, and he says, again, I'm going to repeat it. We said it in another video. Inflation is a tax on the poor. And he also said that who suffers the most throughout life financially is the middle class, right? He's been saying for 30 years the middle class is eroding, the middle class is eroding, the middle class is disappearing. You're just going to have the wealthy, the super
Yes,
wealthy,
yes.
and the poor.
Well,
That's it.
this is what like I told you about with what's his name, Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt. So they said
Yes.
there's going to be two classes of people. There's going to be the people that are going to be at the whims of AI, that's going to do everything for them, that's going to dumb them down, and then there's going to be the people that control and prompt the AI and own those systems. So right now we're in this critical phase in history where you got to make a choice. Do you want to be part of that UBI class or the acid class? And
Hmm.
and that's your choice. You don't have any other choice. And being part of the club or being part of the, the I don't know, I don't even call it lower class, but just being
The
part of the
club. Yeah.
manipulated group at the bottom.
Yeah.
And like, do you have some agency in your life or do you have no agency in your life? I mean,
Hmm.
like, you're not going to have agency either way because the AI is going to be smarter than both groups, right? So,
Oof.
like,
Wow.
you're going to be, do you want to be a goldfish or do you want to be a dog? That's your choice because the AI is
Hmm.
going to be the human, right?
Right.
So that's your pick.
Wow, man. So much. Okay, so many good conversations, so much good topics. Let's bring it back to the law of attraction. Have you seen The Secret? And when you saw it, did you believe it, or did
Well,
it
I
take
mean,
you
the
like 10
only
years?
thing I kind of remember about it was the part where the priest was blessing the holy water, and the holy water took on the resonance and the molecular frequency of the like positive energy that he was infusing into it, like the water
Yeah, the
molecules.
Japanese guy.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah,
interesting, but I mean, I don't really remember much else about it. But look, I believe that it's mind over matter. Like that totally works. It's just
nice.
we have to understand why it works. You see, that's the bigger question, and we might actually get AI answering that question at some point.
So if you had to say right now, why does it work?
Because we,
We live in a simulation.
well, it's either we live in a simulation or humans generate a different type of energy besides just biochemical energy. I think there's another type of energy, emotional energy, that can allow us to access these things. So
I see. Okay.
I've had experiences in my life where emotional energy in proximity to electricity and water would allow me to access certain like psychic abilities, like precognition, and
No way.
not only do it like randomly, but do it with specific accuracy multiple times. So 50 to 100 times I've been able to access precognition consistently based on specific factors. And I have not, no one else has observed this phenomenon the way that I have. And, but the problem is the emotional charge I have to like have has to be something unexpected. But there, maybe it doesn't have to be. I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll figure out a way to access this ability without having to like charge myself extremely positively or negatively emotionally. I don't know. But that's just what I've experienced.
That is cool. That is definitely a conversation for another video.
Yes.
That's wild. Okay, so have you seen What the Bleep Do We Know?
Maybe I'm confusing the two films up, but I don't think I've seen the other one. No.
Okay, it's all good. Well, one of the things you talked about was like with the law of attraction, like mind over matter, you said, right? So I think it's What the Bleep Do We Know, which is really just a documentary where they share different scientific, studies and results. And one of them was the double slit experiment.
Yes.
You know about that one?
Yeah. So I
So
mean,
so things are waves and particles at the same time.
well, it's more complicated than that. It's like something doesn't exist unless we're looking at it, right? So
Yes. Oh my God, dude. Mind blowing. Thank you. Continue, please.
so so if you're looking at it from that perspective, so that means that if you're in a simulation and you want to save processing power, then what you will only do is render what people are actually looking at, so you don't have to waste computational power on rendering the things that people aren't looking at. And I've known this for a long time, and Musk mentioned this a couple days ago, and I'm like, dude, you're like 5 years behind the thinking, right? My whole thing is, if we're in a simulation, what you want to do is you want to use up so much of the processing power that it crashes the simulation. And so that, like, literally you're figuring out ways to overwhelm the simulation so that it proves to you that this is a simulation. Right? So,
Wow, that's fucking
so
interesting.
like,
Why would you want it to do that though?
well, would you want to know that you're living in a fake reality? Or do you want to continue to exist in the fake reality and just accept it for what it is?
These are big fucking questions, bro.
Well, look at it this way. So, when I travel to the Southwest, every day I would like see 4 or 5 different interesting things, places, meet interesting people. Like one day I started off, I was in the mountains and there was snow. Then I went to like pine forests. Then I went to like, deserts. And then I ended up the day in like, where did I, like in a city. So you're looking at changing you're using up all this bandwidth. And so if you're in a computer simulation, it's got to render all of these places. So the way it works is it's not going to render these things in real time because it's a lot of processing power. So a lot of the time I would dream about these places before I went to them. So dreams might actually be like a loading construct that loads up the places that you're going to go to so that when you actually get there in real time, it doesn't actually have to load them because it would crash the system. Because, you play a video game and it has to load up a world that you go into before you play it. But imagine in one day you go to 4 or 5 worlds. And so the system's like, I can't process that. That's too much. So like, it literally, or it creates circumstances where you try to go to a specific part on the map and the board's like, oh shit, we can't make that design. We can't finish that yet. Figure out ways to keep them from going to that area at all costs. Right. And so I've noticed synchronicities, artificial synchronicities converging to keep me from going to specific parts of Colorado. Not once, but like 3 times. Right.
Because why? Because why don't they want you to go there?
I don't know. Like the first time I had all these crows showing up, appearing everywhere on my car, in my dreams, swooping down in front of my car to protect me from the deer that was just running in front of the car and blocking me from hitting the deer and to kind of gain my trust. And then literally a crow appearing in my dream. So for 5, 6, 7 days straight, I had crows telling me, don't go to Colorado. And I'm like, why the fuck should I go to Colorado? And eventually I changed my plan. And then the moment I changed my plan, the crows disappeared, which was kind of bizarre.
Oh shit, that's highly bizarre, bro.
Yeah, but this is, you're talking about the law of attraction. And that's why I call it artificial synchronicity. Because I'm not attracting these things. These things are artificially put there to guide me in a specific direction, right? So, or take me away from another direction. So
right now, what intelligence? Because that's what I like to call it. The universe, God, it's all the same thing to me. It's a superior intelligence, right? It's a vastly superior intelligence. So, why would that intelligence or that consciousness, same thing, want to keep you away from certain places?
Well, think about it. It could be a number of different reasons. So, for example, if you go like specific geographical areas are charged with specific energy. So maybe they don't, whatever it is, doesn't want you to go to that place. So because it'll access other things that you're not supposed to access. Number one. Number two, maybe the place just hasn't been rendered, right? Maybe they just don't have the computing power, right? Because like Musk was talking about this the other day and he said like, okay, so we just built the James Webb Observatory and now we can observe planets further out, and so now the simulation is having to generate and render all the planets that we can see at a distance, but not in super high detail, right? So as we become more advanced, the simulation also has to become more advanced. Therefore, it has to use more computing power, right? So again, we're talking hypotheticals. We don't know any of this stuff, right? Like it's
really out there shit.
Yeah, it's like there's a video interview by Philip K. Dick where he talks about this. He's like we're living in the Matrix, a computer generated world. He's talking about this in the 70s. Okay, so if you want to know where
before the Matrix,
yes. So that's where the title and where that idea comes from. It comes from Philip K. Dick, and so again, he's like he knew his son was going to die of a hernia, and so he dreamt of this ahead of time, and then when his son got sick, he knew how the son was going to die. He went to the doctor and told him that the son has a hernia. They checked and they saved the son's life by doing that. So how do you what do you think about that? Like, how do you process that?
Reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing. We'll wrap this up with this. I today got invited to see the Toronto Maple Leaf game tomorrow night. Now, I love watching the Leafs. I love watching the Leafs highlights. I grew up playing hockey myself. I grew up watching hockey and the Leafs games with my family when I was young. We even went to many games when I was young with my dad when it was, like less expensive and insane to get there. And I just love the Leafs, right? I don't care for much sports. I don't care for much when it comes to sports, but I love the Leafs. I love hockey, and the Leafs are doing really good right now, which is awesome. I'm not one of those guys that's like, this is the year they're going to win the cup. No, right? I'm a realist, but I really enjoy watching the Leafs highlights, and I just, when I was in Mexico and Colombia traveling abroad to get that sense of homeness instead of homesickness, I would watch the highlights. So it's a habit that kind of stuck. And I'm really excited for them right now because they're doing really well. And so today I get invited to the Leafs game tomorrow. And that's like a rare thing because it's really hard to get tickets and they're not cheap. So this guy comes to me today and he offers me to go. And I'm like, of course, absolutely. And I didn't really have the desire to go, but I think I just attracted it because every few days I watch the highlights still, and it brings me a lot of joy. I have a lot of fun. So I don't know, I think I attracted that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Do you have anything better way to end that episode other than chill, for sure?
I mean, I've got specific criteria. Like, so for example, when I have a precognitive dream or when I have what I say artificial synchronicity, I layer these things. So for example, if I dream about something that's going to happen, I don't like if I just dream about one event, I don't really qualify that. It has to be multiple events in the same dream. So if there's a progression in the dream and then I know what's coming next in real life when I'm experiencing it, then to me, that's telling me, okay, like this is now, there's a step-by-step process, right? So like if you specifically, like if I was like, if you were looking up the Leafs and you were like, damn, I wish I could go see the Leafs. And then like 2 days later, buddy's like, hey, I got some Leaf tickets. You're like, what the hell? Right? Like that would be elevate your synchronicity. That would elevate the
I see what you mean.
Like you have to validate. So you have to look at how many things you focused on to get that coincidence to happen, right? So if you focused on like 3 or 4 or 5 different things and then the coincidence happened, then you're like, holy shit, that's pretty coincidental, right?
Okay. Well, here's an interesting coincidence. I'm taking a program right now from a billionaire and somebody who was on the inside in one of the societies, and he released this program kind of undercover. Anyway, every day there's a reading, and every day there's an assignment. And the newest assignment for the last 6-7 days was look at your vision board morning and night, and look at it as many times as possible throughout the day. So normally this is not a thing that I do, but I am doing this program to a T right now. So for the last 6 days, I've been looking at my vision board multiple times a day. And he also says, feel good and feel as if you had it and look at it. And while you're looking at it, feel like it, that you have it. I do have a couple of pictures of like guys in box seats that are like high-fiving each other with, goals and stuff at the Leafs game at the Scotiabank
So
Center.
that's the second coincidence. So highlights are one, and now you got
Yeah.
that's two. So you just got to keep like, I look at it like the people who probably have better luck with these kind of law of attraction things are people that have OCD, because they're just obsessed. They're just like constantly going over the same thing over and over and over again. So if you're constantly thinking about the same thing because you're like on the autistic spectrum to some extent, then you're more likely to have the law of attraction happen to you.
Hmm.
Whereas the average person, I think their attention is more scattered and it's not as focused. So your billionaire buddy, he's telling you to focus your attention on one thing.
That's right.
But you have to understand, like I said, the people the people who are on that spectrum do not have to worry about that. It's what they do,
Yeah.
right? Like, I just make the same content every day, right? It's just like I go over the same content looking for new answers, and then I find it.
Right.
You know,
And I think you're onto something there because people are lazy. Like you can't be lazy with the law of attraction. Like you said something in the beginning, like people do the law of attraction and they expect bags of money to just fall in their lap. No, it doesn't happen like that. You have to take the action and you can't be lazy with it. And
well,
like you said, my mentor is trying to teach me to be focused,
yeah. So you can.
right?
It's about recognizing the opportunity when it shows up, and then like
Yes.
not only jumping on it, but like sucking the life out of that opportunity until there's like nothing left. Until, like, for me it
Well,
was always like I always wanted to be a filmmaker, right? So like for me it was like, okay, I want to
yeah.
make a movie. I've got 3 movie script ideas. They're great ideas.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I can't get this done. I'll never be able to make this. And now you get Sora with AI, and now I just tell it in like 3, 4, 5 years. I'll tell it I want to make this film about Nikola Tesla and his brother who passed away. It is a sibling rivalry kind of movie, and like an alternate history and like multi-reality kind of thing. And AI will be
Hmm.
able to generate the whole movie for me. I just have to tell it what I want. And so like literally I can make all these amazing movies and I don't even have to shoot them. I don't have to direct them. I don't have to produce them. I have to do anything. And I have all the skills to do it. I just don't have the funding, and I don't have the political ability to deal with all the people in the movie industry, the bullshit you have to jump through, right? So
Hmm.
that's just going to bypass all of that. It's going to be fantastic. So is that
Wow.
the universe giving me what I want? I don't know. Maybe there's enough people like me thinking the same thing. So maybe it's not just like the law of attraction and artificial synchronicities by one person. Maybe it's just like groups of people thinking that they want something to happen, and then that reality happening. Because Philip K.
I agree with you because
Philip K.
consciousness shapes reality.
Philip K. Dick said that the reality that we're living in is the most uh, cemented one, the one that we most agree on together. So,
Yes,
reality could be collective consciousness, could be affecting reality, and so that we all find ourselves living in a collective simulation.
it is. It's true. You're right. And you, like every individual lives in their own reality as well. So we live in the collective reality where like, it's -2 degrees outside right now in Toronto, and everybody that goes outside experiences it. But you also live in your own reality where, you're in your own bubble. You could be home forever where the temperature is 23 degrees. But it's different from somebody who's outside in the North Pole, in Toronto, in the Yukon, in Arizona, whatever. So that's like a really practical example, but I agree with what he's saying. Everyone's in their own reality, and we're in the shared reality.
Yeah, no, for sure. So hopefully that ends it off on a high note.
It does. Thank you.
Well, that's it. If you want these videos 2 weeks before I release them here, then check out the Financially Indestructible channel in the description. It's right near the top. If you have any finance related topics that you want us to cover, then please leave them in the description. Michael and I both do coaching, and you can reach us through the links below too. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.